Hey, good morning. I'm trying to get a couple things. I actually have a day off right now. As a pastor, I just can't figure all this out how to do it. Anyways, so I might do a couple things before I engage in school the rest of the day. My wife said she wanted a shorter video, so I'll do what I can. Actually, this should be an easy week for most of you. One thing that we have to remember is you have people in your group that went through a lot of this last summer. Melanie does, Aaron does, and so rely on those people to help you out. And if you were to think ahead, maybe you could have those that have explained some stuff and just have a little, maybe a workshop time, drawing the picture out or talking about the stories, divide up in smaller groups. I don't know, however you want to do it, but use your assets, I guess, is what I want to make sure you understand. The first question, just real quick on these questions, tell the world about Jesus, speak if you must. We say that, and I believe it's true, okay? But a lot of these things have a different side to it. In other words, we can't be honorary interactions and say we're a Christian, we have to live it. So that's the idea, but Romans 10:13, and actually if you expand it down to 17, I should have grabbed another verse, kind of sloppy with my verses this week. Romans 13 through 17, if you extend it down, you will see that we need to, faith comes by hearing. Well, how is someone going to hear? I guess we can live our life loud enough where people hear, but eventually they need to hear the truth about Jesus from our life. So our life then produces questions that we can answer is what we want. And sometimes we need to put our foot in the door. So we're sort of talking about boldness this week and sharing our faith. And again, we're giving opportunity to people to share their faith here on Easter by extending an invitation to someone, because I'm going to share the good news. So if they're not very forward in sharing their faith, they can do it this time, not every time, because we have to do that through an invitation, and then we can do that. What makes it a true friendship? Here's the deal. This is a tactical question, at least I thought of it this way. If you somewhere discuss what it is to be a true friend, somehow it's going to be about loving others. I'm not going to say caring about one another, doing something for one. Well, here's the deal. If your friend is going to get run over by a car, if you're a good friend, you'll say, hey, move out of the way. Well, if somebody's going to go to hell for eternity because they don't understand Jesus is the way, truth, or life, then you're not being a good friend by sharing your faith with them, all right? Not jamming it down their throat, but eventually you have to come to the place where you have to tell them the truth. You're going in their shipwreck ahead if you head this way. Now, if you don't believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, or life, then you don't have to share it. But then it's a question of myself and what I believe. And I think these are some good dynamics to talk about, because if we really believe Jesus is the way, truth, or life, and we really have friends, then we have to approach those situations differently. We have to share the truth somehow, some way. Circle the components of a good story. A is a tricky one. It's really 5 minutes is too long. You should have your story, if it's 150 words, 1 or 2 minutes. I mean, you should be able to just sort of say it. And it's okay for it to be open-ended, and then them ask questions, all right? No use of religious terms, that's correct. It clearly speaks to your life before Christ, what God did, and how you will now benefit. Yes, it does that. You need to include a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It should be clear, not fuzzy, as well as what happened. The once-in-a-lifetime experience is those weird faith stories. They happen, but that's probably not a good place to start with. So everything else is true except for one, D and A, all right? True or false? Very hard to do true or false questions because they're approached from different angles. It's okay if people have different angles, different answers, so let them know that, all right? The question is, why is yours true or false? In other words, I need to learn about God before I can lead a person of Christ. Now, if you're saying, I have no knowledge of God whatsoever, yes, that's true. But if you're saying, I'm a Christian and I have to know more before I can share more, no, that's not true. Because if you're a Christian, you have enough to share. God has changed your life. Does that make sense? I hope it does. True or false? I need to have faith in Jesus before I can lead a person in Christ. True, if I'm sharing my faith. False, if somehow I'm like John Wesley, who was sharing Christ with people and listening to their conversion experiences before he was saved. I mean, his life is so upside down at sometimes. And so God can use truth in any way to use someone, but I do think you're a lot more effective if you have your own personal faith that you're sharing. That is the great model, okay? The more I know about God, the more tools I possess to lead a person to Christ. That, I believe, is true. I think is an absolute statement. In other words, it's not that I get more power, I just have more options. And we are experiencing that week with the cross, a way of illustrating, the bridge. That is a tool that we can use to then share with someone. Make sense? right, let's go to the back real quick. Romans, and it's Romans 6:23. I'm sorry, that's another oops. Romans 6, I don't know what I was thinking of. Try to memorize the verse for your study group. This is drawing the picture. And so this is where you team somebody up, get a big picture out. I don't know how you go about it, but this is such an important thing. I think it needs to be done in your group somehow, some way, okay? And if somebody's already drawn the picture, maybe have them explain it. I don't know how you're going to do it, but this is just like a workshop sort of thing. If they can do it here, maybe you have paper, you go through it all yourself again, and then you hand out paper, and then let them share with somebody else, okay? And then you can use your group people, if this would be their third time looking at it, they can have another opportunity to share. So this is just a great way to sort of have some interaction and share. Last week application, how did it go? You need to talk about that. Keep these on the front burner. Here's a great application for this week. Write your story out and bring it to group next week. That's what I might bring that with me. Again, as a leader, you need to have these things up front so you know about them. Who's bringing you across? You can share who yours are that God has placed on your heart. Maybe what somebody else is doing that you know. But we have to be sharing about God. And then the looking ahead's Romans 8. 35 through 39. It's a passage on God's love that we can't be taken away from. So that's it in a nutshell. Have a great group. I'm excited. God's doing good things. You all know about that in some way, shape, or form. So keep it up. We should have a real positive, upbeat groups this week. This is good stuff. It's applicable to everyone. Do not let people get intimidated. Lead them through it. Lead them through it. That's what leadership does. All right. Leadership takes people to a place they would not normally go on their own. So take them somewhere this week. God bless you.